Hey guys, welcome back to CLOWNFISH TV. This is Kneon. We're going to do a follow-up video to a video Geeky and I did the other day talking about a former Disney storyboard artist and her decision to quit the animation industry in disgust. Yeah, she was not very happy with her job at Disney. She decided to quit, and there's been, I guess, a lot of discussion about this in animation circles, on sites like Cartoon Brew, on other YouTube channels, including this guy, I believe it's Jean-Denis Hawes from Lucasfilm. He's a 16-year veteran of the animation industry. He basically agrees with Janet Chan, but he also says that she's wrong about a great many things. So we're going to talk about that and talk about how this jives with things we have heard about the animation industry from people we know working in the current climate in animation right now, and you know, some other leaks that have come out in the last couple of years regarding the state of animation here in the US. So before we get into it, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We're at almost 100,000 subs, guys. Thanks so much for the support. So we did this other video. We kind of rolled Janet Chan's story into our video on Klaus getting robbed of an Oscar. In our opinion, it was the more innovative movie, and then we talked about her disillusionment, I guess, with Disney. And a lot of what Janet Chan is saying is true. It's very, very true. We talked about some illusions that people have about the animation industry or comic book industry while they're in school, thinking it's all creative, that there's no mundane corporate element to it, and that's just simply not the case. And you know, she went over some pretty valid points. I'll recap some of these points, and then I'm going to talk about the rebuttal to that and talk about some supporting evidence from some other YouTubers. So for those of you who didn't watch the first video, just a real quick recap. You can go out and find Janet Chan's video. She said that the reason she left was the executives had poor creative judgment. She was upset because the preschool show she was working on, they weren't allowed to draw angry eyebrows on the characters anymore because we don't want kids to be angry. Yeah, I know, right? Networking is king. It's not about how good you are. It's about who you know. That is 100% true, and we're going to talk a little more about that. Professionalism is sidelined. Unqualified people fail upwards while many talented people are passed up for promotion and ignored. This happens in virtually every industry. But in the animation industry, that networking and that professionalism being sidelined, that does seem to come up more and more with people we've talked to in the animation industry. Some anecdotes we've heard. It's a very cliquish industry right now. And, you know, so a lot of this I actually can substantiate. Toxic behavior is rife. Oftentimes people are only kind to you if you're of value to them. That's, again, every industry, every job. The working environment is dull and bureaucratic. You're working for Disney. Disney is super corporate right now. It's not the same company it was 20 years ago. That is for sure. That's why guys like Sergio Pablos left to go form their own studios, because it's not the same place it used to be. The industry isn't honest about all of this. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having a corporate job. It's just I wish my school, the recruiters, and the studio itself told me what I was walking into. That is true, and Geeky and I talked about this at length, that there are a lot of young artists that don't quite understand the business side of animation, the business side of comics, or really any other creative industry. There is a business side to it. A lot of other animators took her to task, I guess, on Twitter, and she quit to go start her own thing. And I gotta tell you, I'm kind of wondering if she shouldn't have waited. She shouldn't have waited a little bit longer before she jumped into that. I'll talk about that later, but let's talk about a rebuttal. This is coming from a guy who is a 16-year vet of ILM. And he has his own YouTube channel too. I guess he does tutorials. And he said, by and large, he loved his career to date. He places himself at one end of a spectrum and Chan at the other, arguing that most people entering the industry will end up somewhere in between. It's not for everybody. He recognizes the validity of Chan's complaints, but adds that they don't represent everyone's experience. Below, we've recapped, this again is coming from Cartoon Brew. Below, we've recapped Chan's key points in bold and summarized Haas's response to each one. Okay, so this is his take on it. This is a rebuttal coming from a 16-year vet at ILM. The executives have poor creative judgment. Haas says that executives come in all stripes. Some have excellent judgment, some don't. Who you end up with is a bit of a crapshoot. They may perceive things the artists don't, so it's important not to judge their notes too quickly. Sometimes you think this is not right, but when you watch the movie, you think, oh yeah, this makes more sense. Networking is king. This is only true to an extent, he says. Talent is important too. You can't be horrible at your job and just rely on networking. That being said, is it going to be helpful to know certain people? Yes. Especially as a student, Haas encourages his students to network at events and on social media. I'm actually going to say that this is a bigger deal than it should be right now, and we see this a lot in comics too. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Professionalism is sidelined. Haas agrees with this, but adds that the same goes for every industry. Incompetence is a fact of life. You're going to deal with people and egos and favors. Is it good? No, but this is something you have to be ready for. Change it, change it, or at least work to change it. I think, maybe she had rose-tinted glasses on when she took the job. She was kind of blinded by, wow, it's Disney, and didn't realize that, yeah, at the end of the day, it's still a job for a big corporation. Toxic behavior is rife. We're going to talk about this one. Haas hasn't experienced this himself. He fully acknowledges that others do. He says the degree of toxicity varies between companies, which makes it all the more important to research an employer before agreeing to work for them. And don't go on Glassdoor and just read negative comments. Because whenever somebody gets laid off, there's going to be a certain slant to their comments. Rooster Teeth. I just want to put this out there because we've been in contact with several people from Rooster Teeth who told us how bad things actually were. And it turned out that they were 100% right. Not long after they came out and said or told us how bad things were, there was another round of layoffs. A lot of key staffers got gone. So I'm actually going to disagree. I do understand people go to sites like Glassdoor to air grievances, but sometimes they do it to warn other employees or other potential employees. And when you have a lot of people saying the same things, it is pretty indicative of what the situation is like at that company. The working environment is dull and bureaucratic. This isn't true of Haas's career. Well, it sounds like he's got a pretty good career going on there. I work on movies that have been part of my childhood, and it's fantastic. That being said, 9 to 5 office job. Yes, it's actually 9 to 6, 9 to 7. Points out that having an office space can be useful as working from home can upset the work-life balance. Yada yada, meetings need to be had. That is true. That is true. The industry isn't honest about all of this. On this point only, Haas wholeheartedly agrees with Chan. In his view, schools do too little to prepare students for the reality of animation work. He points his own students to articles on Cartoon Brew about exploitive practices in the industry and encourages them to do research of their own. Well, okay, wait a second. This is an industry that is looking for a ton of profit. That, coupled with creative people and ambitious people and egos, is a recipe for all kinds of dirty behavior. But don't believe Glassdoor. Don't believe Glassdoor. There's a lot of really shady stuff going on with animation. A lot of stuff is done on the cheap now. A lot of these jobs are being outsourced. And like the comic book industry, they kind of prey on young people who are willing to work cheap and work hard, thinking that they're going to get thrown a bone eventually. And really, at the end of the day, you're just kind of a production grunt. And that's how it works. And a lot of these jobs, more and more of them, unfortunately, are being shipped overseas. That sounds really, really negative. I'm not trying to be really negative about it. I'm just trying to say, look, it's not peaches and cream. This isn't, creative industry is not fantastic to work in. It is a job. I do think that the schools, because they're trying to sell people on their degree, right? They want you to go to a school like CalArts. They want you to go to a school like SCAD and pay the hundreds of thousands of dollars and they're not going to tell you that the industry is trash to work in. They're not going to tell you that because you're not going to buy their degree. They're selling you a service. They're selling you their $200,000 degree or whatever it costs now, sometimes more. So yeah, of course they're going to tell you it's wonderful, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic industry to work in. And that's not the case. It can be. I think that there are more and more independent artists who are doing some amazing things. Again, we saw with Klaus, we're seeing with a lot of YouTubers now doing some really cool stuff on their own, not working in that corporate environment. But yeah, it's a pretty cutthroat industry, going back to this video, this infamous video from Easy Peasy, was floating around last year talking about the animation industry, talking about the clicks in the animation industry, talking about a lot of the shows that are being greenlit by the same group of people. And I actually agree with Chan on this point. There is a very small group of people controlling currently controlling most of the animation coming out of California at this point. I do think this is going to change. I think it's going to change because there's more of a demand for animation now with the streaming wars heating up, and it's not going to be the same group of people, the same two dozen people doing the same shows for the same networks. They're going to have to go to other studios, which means that other people are going to be included in that. But again, you know, with that demand for content comes a demand for profit, and you know, the working conditions may not improve. I don't know, but you know, this has been a very controversial video. I can vouch for some of what is being said in the video. I can't vouch for all of it. I'll put a link to the video if you've never seen it. You can watch it for yourself. I can't vouch again for everything in it, but there is a lot of it that overlaps with things that we've heard from people who work in the animation industry too. So it is what it is. So at the end of it, Janet Chan decided she wasn't cut out to work in the animation industry, so she quit her job at Disney, and she's started this website where she's selling t-shirts and stuff, I guess, on Instagram. I mean, she does some nice work. But I don't know that is going to pay the bills as well as a steady job at Disney. And I think a lot of artists, you know, kind of fall into this, and you know, at least there's, you know, she's got some business sense. She is going to try to, you know, monetize her work. It's not like, well, I'm just going to sit at home and draw, you know, Steven Universe fan art or something on Tumblr and beg for money on Patreon or something. You know, she's actually going to go out and try to market her work, which is good. I mean, it's good. I just don't know how successful she's going to be at it, because there's a lot of people doing the same thing. You know, I'm not going to tell her what to do with her career. She is talented though. I'll put the link to her Instagram. You can go out there and check. Looks like she's more into comic art than she is Disney style animation though. Just my armchair observation. So, I mean, maybe the whole video, the whole purpose of it was, you know, to get attention for herself, her channel, and her new endeavors. You know, I don't know. But I do think that more people need to come out and tell the truth about what it's actually like working in a creative industry, because people really do have, you know, rose-colored glasses on. They think that, you know, hey, I just get to draw all day, and it's going to be, you know, just all creating all day, and I can do whatever I want and get paid for it. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture, news, views, and rants. We do talk about anime, the animation industry, comics, movies, whatever comes up that day that interests us. We'll talk to you guys later. Thinking about printing your own comic books, graphic novel, or manga? We recommend our friends over at PrintNinja. We've been using PrintNinja as long as they've been printing comics, and both the quality and price is excellent. Mention Clownfish TV and get an additional 5% overrun of your book order quantity printed for free. For free! That's free books, people. Just mention this offer on the phone or in the additional information box on the quote request form. That's printninja.com, or click on the link in the description below. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.